Welcome to JK Tells a Story, where real-life dramas unfold. Sit back and enjoy today's tale. On my way to the Ocean View Elementary construction site, I couldn't shake the conversation my wife had started over dinner last night. It wasn't the first time she'd brought it up, but lately, the topic seemed to come up more and more often. I was puzzled why she kept circling back to this issue and why it seemed so important to her. She wondered about how many women I'd been with before we got serious, and whether I ever thought about them during our intimate moments. There was only one answer to give her: absolutely not. Over our 5 years of marriage, Jessica and I had built what I thought was a solid foundation based on trust, respect, love, and friendship. Our relationship was everything I'd ever wanted, a perfect blend of everything that really mattered to me. We both had decent careers, a beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood of Virginia Beach, and what I believed was an unbreakable bond. My name's Michael Thompson, but everyone just calls me Mike. I'm fortunate to run my own small construction company, Thompson Construction Solutions, specializing in educational building projects throughout the Hampton Roads area. We're currently working on a major renovation of Ocean View Elementary's gymnasium and athletic facilities, new flooring, updated lighting, expanded locker rooms, and a complete overhaul of the HVAC system. It gives me both the financial freedom and the flexibility to enjoy life's finer things: weekend trips to the Blue Ridge Mountains, fresh Chesapeake Bay blue crab at the oceanfront, and the occasional fishing charter out of Rudy Inlet. Jessica and I love exploring what coastal Virginia has to offer. I'm about average height with dark hair and brown eyes, second-generation Italian-American with some Irish thrown in, which sometimes fuels my temper. But since college, I've learned to keep my anger in check, realizing that words carry more weight than fists. I pride myself on staying in shape. Years of construction work will do that to you. Growing up, I was always active. Played baseball through high school, spent summers surfing at Virginia Beach and fishing in the Chesapeake Bay. Even now, with my busy schedule running the business, I still make time for morning runs on the beach, weekend softball league at Mount Trashmore, and kayaking in the Back Bay Wildlife Refuge. My wife Jessica has always been naturally attractive. Bright eyes, smooth skin, and this smile that just draws people in. She's got this way about her that makes people feel comfortable, gets them to open up whether they're talking to her at school events or just chatting at Harris Teeter. Jess is an amazing listener. She shows her colleagues and friends how much they matter by giving them her complete attention. Jessica has this magnetic quality that draws people to her. Her outgoing nature and charm often lead to conversations that dance on the edge of flirtation, but she's always been careful to keep things appropriate despite the attention her personality and looks attract. She never lets things go too far. Petite with auburn hair, green eyes, and a figure that definitely turns heads, Jess is the kind of woman both men and women notice. Maybe her best features are her toned arms and defined shoulders. She hits the YMCA 4 or 5 evenings a week, alternating between yoga classes and swimming laps. She finds real peace in those workouts. I often can't help reaching out to touch her when she walks by, and she never seems to mind. When I think about it, Jessica's personality seems perfect for me. There's just one small thing that causes us to butt heads now and then. Emotionally, Jess rarely lets a situation escalate into a real argument, but once she's made up her mind about something, she digs in her heels. She believes strongly in her opinions, especially about things that can't easily be backed up with hard facts. This often leads to her being stubborn as hell, and it's tough to change her mind once she's decided something. We both got married right after college, having dated seriously for the last 2 years of school. It's fair to say that before we tied the knot, Jessica hadn't had many different partners, but during high school and early college, I definitely sowed my wild oats. I wanted to be with as many women as possible back then. At 19, I was lucky enough to have a relationship with a recently divorced woman in her 30s. She was experienced and passionate, taught me valuable lessons about how to please a woman and the importance of making sure she was satisfied first. Her guidance helped me understand that my partner's pleasure should always come before my own. When Jessica asked about my abilities in that department, I credited those early lessons. While she appreciated my skills, she couldn't help but feel a bit envious of the variety of experiences I'd had. For work, I own Thompson Construction Solutions. We specialize in educational and municipal projects throughout the Tidewater region, school renovations, library expansions, community center upgrades. The job is challenging but rewarding, providing a comfortable income and enough flexibility to pursue my hobbies. Right now, I'm restoring a vintage Airstream that Jess and I plan to use for extended trips up the Blue Ridge Parkway and maybe down to the Outer Banks. The possibilities for adventure seem endless. Jessica works as assistant principal at Ocean View Elementary, one of the larger schools in the Virginia Beach district. It's a good position with decent pay, manageable stress levels, and occasional opportunities for professional development trips. Her responsibilities include overseeing the newer teachers, making sure they're following district standards, and providing quality education to their students. She's also been the liaison for our construction project, coordinating between the school administration and my crew to minimize disruption to classes and ensure the athletic program can continue during renovations. Over the past month, Jessica has been working closely with a new colleague named Brandon Mitchell on planning the new athletic programs for the renovated facilities. After getting his degree in physical education from James Madison University, he spent 3 years coaching youth sports programs in Richmond before joining the Virginia Beach School District this fall. Brandon's been brought in specifically to revamp the school's athletics program and make use of the new gymnasium and outdoor facilities we're building. After their first few meetings about equipment needs and program scheduling, Jessica initially praised his enthusiasm, confidence, and easygoing personality. She mentioned how excited he was about the rock climbing wall we're installing and the new outdoor basketball courts. But then she seemed to stop mentioning him as much, especially as I became more absorbed in my trailer restoration project. My excitement about our upcoming travel adventures was growing, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Jess wasn't quite as enthusiastic as I was, and that bothered me. I figured after a few short trips, she'd start to really enjoy them. But I also noticed that Jessica's behavior toward me had shifted a little. She seemed less cheerful, less talkative, less like her usual self. Despite this, our intimate relationship remained strong, and there were times when Jess would come home from work and passionately initiate romance. The last time this happened, I noticed her desire seemed particularly intense. It was clear something had really excited her. After we made love following a long day at work, I went downstairs to start dinner while Jessica took a shower. While I was cooking, I had this nagging feeling that something had been off between us lately. When Jess finally joined me in the kitchen, I decided to address it head-on. Meanwhile, Jessica was relaxing under the hot water, savoring the afterglow of their intimate moment. But beneath her contentment lay a growing sense of guilt and worry. She couldn't shake the memories of recent conversations with her colleague Brandon. Lately, he'd been trying to convince her to grab dinner after work, maybe catch a movie at town center. She knew damn well she was crossing a line she shouldn't cross, especially since their conversations were becoming increasingly flirtatious and inappropriate for a married woman. But she couldn't deny the excitement she felt. She was fixated on this forbidden connection and the thrill of being desired by another man. She recognized her strong physical attraction to him and had already started mentally planning how an intimate encounter might unfold. She told herself she deserved this experience. I need to get this crazy idea out of my head and focus on my marriage, Jessica reflected. Mike had plenty of partners before we got together, but I know he'd never cheat on me. I'd never cheat on him either, but, God, I can't stop thinking about spending time with Brandon. I need to figure out how to talk to Mike about this. I love him and I'd never want to hurt him, so I'll be completely honest. It's just one time, just a fling. It's important for me to get this out of my system so we can move forward in our marriage. Jessica continued her internal debate. If Mike really loves me as much as he says he does, he'll be open to this conversation, and together we'll be able to work through any problems, becoming even stronger than before. I can't lose hope, although part of me worries this might just be wishful thinking. Determined, I waited for Jessica to join me in the kitchen, where I was preparing fresh Chesapeake Bay rockfish, cornbread, and pouring some Virginia wine. Taking a deep breath, she finally spoke up. We need to talk about something important, Mike. Please, let's just be honest with each other. I love you, and I know you love me. Let's work through this together. I've been wanting to talk to you too, but go ahead, I replied. Jessica's words sounded slightly ominous, and I couldn't help wondering how many relationships had taken a turn for the worse after hearing those exact words. Don't worry, Mike. It's nothing terrible. This is something that could actually benefit both of us. I don't know how to put this, but it feels like something's been off between us lately. You haven't been as affectionate and open with me as usual, Jessica began. Did you forget about what we just shared upstairs? I asked, genuinely confused. Mike, that's not what I meant, she replied, looking puzzled. But since you brought it up, what got you so worked up that you practically tore my clothes off? Jessica's demeanor quickly shifted, and I could see defensiveness and guilt creeping into her expression. Mike, if you don't like that I'm passionate with you, then maybe that's more your problem than mine, she shot back. I immediately picked up on her defensive tone and called her out, noticing the worry and guilt in her eyes. Can't you see it? Can't you just tell me what's really going on? Do I have a reason to be worried about you? Depressed. Jessica felt a stab of guilt as she realized the conversation had gone sideways. She knew she needed to pull herself together to have a productive talk with Mike. Mike, I'm really sorry. That's not what I meant to say. I need to tell you what's happening. I want you to remember that I love you and our life together more than anything in the world. Our relationship means everything to me, and I'm deeply in love with you. Jessica began carefully. Please understand, Jessica. You're making me very concerned right now. Are you romantically involved with someone else? Are you being unfaithful to me? I started to push forward. Mike, how could you even think such a thing? You know I'd never betray your trust. I respect you too much for that, but I do need to have a serious conversation with you. I'm asking you to listen to me and really hear what I'm trying to say. When I'm finished, feel free to ask any questions, and we can discuss them. Honey, I want to emphasize again that I'm devoted to you and only you. I see a future with you, children together, growing old together, and I'll always be by your side as your wife, Jessica said earnestly. I have something difficult to tell you, so please listen carefully. Remember when I mentioned Brandon, my colleague who I've been working with on planning the new athletics program for the renovated gym? Well, we've also had lunch together a few times at Chick-fil-A near the school and grabbed dinner once or twice at Town Center. I know this might sound suspicious, but I want to assure you this isn't an affair or cheating. I might have crossed a line by not telling you how much time I've been spending with him, but I promise my intentions weren't wrong, she continued. Maybe I don't love him, but our conversations have been filled with flirting and meaningful looks. It all seemed harmless enough at first. That was until he told me he wanted to be intimate with me. He's 7 years younger than me, incredibly good-looking, and in amazing shape. You know how these PE teachers are. And I found myself unexpectedly attracted to him, Jessica confessed. Anger flashed through me as I wondered. Had she already given up on our relationship for him? Did she have feelings for him? Had she already cheated on me? And was this her way of confessing? Jessica flinched at her own words, realizing they weren't conveying what she really meant. Mike, I want you to know I haven't been intimate with anyone, including Brandon. This has been difficult for me, but you have to understand that my love belongs only to you. Brandon is just a young guy. There's no chance I'd fall in love with him. I had limited experience before we met, and sometimes I feel like I missed out on exploring things before we became serious. I wish I'd had a chance to experience something new, like you did before we fell in love. It's hard to shake the idea that this young man I'm attracted to wants to be with me. Brandon and I were flirting during our meeting about the new equipment layout today, so when I came home, I felt incredibly passionate and needed your love, Jessica admitted. My heart started pounding, and my face flushed as I realized the implications of what Jessica had just said. She quickly tried to backtrack. Mike, that's not what I meant. I love you deeply, and being close to you isn't just physical pleasure. It's the most amazing connection I've ever had. But I can't shake this attraction to another man. I've decided I want to be intimate with him because I see this as my last opportunity before we start building our future together with kids, career advancement, all of that. I think I deserve this experience, and I'm asking for your understanding and permission. I want to assure you right now that I've never cheated on you and won't cheat on you. My respect for you remains rock solid, Jessica said. That's why I'm asking you to let me do this. I should also tell you that I've already made my decision, she added. Jessica was shocked to see me slump forward in my chair, tears welling up in my eyes and running down my cheeks. This wasn't how she'd imagined it would go. It was supposed to be just a physical encounter, disposable. It shouldn't matter this much. She needed to convince me. Mike, I only love you. I want to be with you, grow old with you. This is purely physical, it's not love, she pleaded. Jessica begged me, trying to justify her desire for this new experience. She promised to make it up to me for the rest of our lives if I just give her this one indulgence. She swore she'd never change and stressed that this was actually a sign of her love for me. When I stood up from the table, the hurt and anger in my eyes frightened Jessica. She realized the damage her words had done to our marriage and relationship. How could she have thought my acceptance of this request would be proof of my love for her? It was complete insanity. Jessica, I can see right through you. This is all bullshit. I know what's really happening. You've already betrayed me by having an emotional affair with someone from work. You've shared intimate details about us and our marriage with this guy, gone on dates, had drinks, and God knows what else. For me, this is already a betrayal. Are you telling me you haven't taken it to the next level and slept with him yet? And now you think you can make it better by promising me more love, more time together, more affection? This isn't love. It's manipulation, I shouted. Mike, please stop. This isn't some soap opera. No, I haven't slept with him, but I'll admit we've kissed a few times after lunch. Maybe it was because of the wine at Olive Garden, but I have to admit the excitement of someone new ignited something in me. It would be a one-time intimate encounter, not an affair. I'll never have feelings for him. I'll always love only you. But I feel like I need this, and if you really love me the way I think you do, you'd understand. Mike, this is just a fling, not love, she pleaded. I can't shake this feeling, even though maybe it doesn't matter at all. I don't know what to do next, but I promise I'll fix everything, she continued. Jessica, I'm shocked you'd even ask me this. You've already hurt me by getting emotionally involved with another person. You betrayed me by discussing intimate details and physical interactions with him. The fact that you kissed him is the same betrayal as if you'd slept with him, I replied angrily. Now I realize how stupid I was, Jessica said. I thought your love for me was as deep as mine for you, but I could never bring myself to hurt you the way you're hurting me. I don't even know if you realize how much damage you've done to our relationship and marriage, I said, my voice full of anger. Mike, please stop being so dramatic. I love you and only you. You can trust me, and that's why I'm being honest with you. This shouldn't hurt you because this is about me, not you. It was just a stupid mistake, she replied. All right, Jessica. Maybe I'll find some pointless fling too, and then you can figure out if you believe this nonsense. I shot back. I got up, grabbed my keys, and headed for the door. Mike, come back and grow up, Jessica called out. This isn't a mistake. This will help me become a better person and give you more love and attention than ever before. Is sleeping with someone who isn't your husband going to make you a better person? You're crazy, Jessica, I replied. I can't believe you actually think that's true. I don't understand how you can claim to love me and then expect me to accept your infidelity and just move on with my life. I'll never be able to just brush this off. If you go through with this, our relationship is over. Do you understand that? I asked bitterly. Tears welled up in my eyes as I rushed to the door, got in my pickup truck, and backed out of the driveway before Jessica could reach me and call out, Mike, please don't leave. Let me prove how much I love you. We can work through this together and make it better for both of us. I looked at her with a mixture of sadness and pain, tears streaming down my face, and drove off into the night. This'll do me good, I thought to myself. Unbelievable. What am I supposed to do now? Jessica sat in shock, feeling depressed and anxious. How could I have screwed this up so badly? Why can't he understand how important this is to me and that it won't hurt our love and relationship? But she couldn't ignore the truth. Damage had already been done. They'd never fought like this before, and Mike had never walked out on her. She'd always been sure of his love for her, but now doubts about his feelings crept into her mind. Reluctantly, she acknowledged the possibility that she'd irreparably damaged their relationship. Despite this, she was already making plans for the weekend with Brandon. They were going to have brunch at the Hilton Virginia Beach oceanfront, spend the day together, and share intimate moments. The evening would be filled with dinner at Captain George's, maybe some dancing at Peabody's, and more closeness. She hoped the weekend would be full of connection and passion. Despite being tormented by doubts, she intended to enjoy as intimate a relationship with him as possible before returning home Sunday evening and fully dedicating herself to her marriage and Mike. She was sure he'd eventually forgive her. She admitted he was in pain right now and that she hadn't explained everything properly. She thought it was unfair of him to assume she was already having an affair and to get so upset about her needs and desires. Her decision was final, and she was confident Mike would eventually come to terms with it, which would allow them to strengthen their relationship and move forward together toward a brighter future. 2 hours later, when she hadn't heard from Mike, her anxiety increased. She knew he wasn't in the best mood when he left. She was sure he'd contact her so they could reconcile and come home to be together and show their love for each other. But as time passed with no call or text from him, she decided to reach out. When he didn't respond, she left a voicemail expressing her regrets. Mike, I'm sorry everything happened like this and that you're hurting. Please know I love you, and I only want to be with you. Let's work through this together. It wasn't just about their relationship, but about their love and future together. An hour later, she left Mike another voicemail. I'm talking to you. Let's put everything behind us and work on our relationship. Please try to understand and come back to me. Getting ready for bed, she checked her phone again, but Mike still wasn't responding. She lay down and eventually fell into a restless sleep with tears in her eyes. I went to the Hampton in downtown Virginia Beach and got a room for the night. After spending way too much time in the hotel bar, I drank heavily before finally collapsing into bed, ignoring the calls and voicemails from Jessica. I tried to drown out the pain that was consuming me. I still couldn't get over the shock and disbelief at her audacity, confessing her love to me while simultaneously insisting on betraying our marriage vows. I was all too familiar with her stubborn nature, but this was a line that couldn't be crossed without consequences. It was a mistake that could end our marriage, and I knew I had to make her realize the seriousness of the situation before it was too late. But deep down, I couldn't shake the fear that maybe it already was too late. Even if I managed to convince her this time, how could I be sure she wouldn't act behind my back and repeat this betrayal in the future? If I allowed her to cheat on me, it would undoubtedly destroy trust and respect in our marriage. I knew that if I let her do this, my feelings for her would never be the same. If I'd agreed, how long would it have been before she found another man? Wouldn't she end up resenting me for not standing up and insisting she belong only to me? It seemed like there were no good options, and I began to fear this was just the beginning of the end. After much thought, I concluded that the best course of action would be to convince her to change her mind and join me in therapy to understand the reasons behind her desire to be intimate with someone else. Wednesday morning, Jessica woke up and reached out to hug Mike, shocked to find he wasn't in bed with her. She searched the whole house, checked the guest bedroom and the couch, but realized his truck wasn't there, which meant he hadn't come home. This discovery upset her greatly. After checking her phone and finding no new messages or voicemails, she decided to call him, but he didn't answer. Just as she was about to hang up, a text notification appeared on her screen. It was from him. "Jessica, I'll be home at 7 tonight. Please eat before I get there. We need to have a serious conversation about our future together." Jessica rolled her eyes at Mike's dramatic message. Initially annoyed, she soon felt anxious. Was he suggesting they didn't have a future together? The thought haunted her, causing a mixture of disappointment and worry. She never wanted this to happen. She loved him and wanted only one thing, to be with him. Why couldn't he understand that? Tonight she'd have to make him see reason. When she was sitting at her desk at school, Brandon approached with his usual charm. "Morning, gorgeous," he said. "You look good enough to kiss. I hope we're still on for this Saturday. Did you talk to your husband? Should I be worried?" Jessica sighed. "Brandon, let me handle Mike. Maybe he's not totally on board with this idea, but it won't cause any real problems. Yes, everything's still on. Our plans for Saturday are still happening, and I can't help but be excited about it," she said. Despite this, after he walked away from her desk, Jessica couldn't resist sending Mike another text. She expressed her love and assured him of her commitment to their future together. An hour passed before she received a short, sarcastic reply from Mike. "Yeah, sure." Jessica felt anger and sadness at Mike's immature behavior and the pain he was causing them both. She was sure she could fix this. She believed that through her love and attention, their relationship would improve and become even better than before. On Wednesday, as soon as Jessica left for work, I returned to the house, gathered my tools, and finished the remaining work on the trailer. I successfully installed the solar panels, completed all electrical and internet connections, and replaced the plumbing in the bathroom. I filled the water tanks and felt confident that by Thursday, I'd be able to finish the interior and have the vehicle ready for travel. Working on the project helped take my mind off the constant pain and sadness. Jessica was only 2 hours away from returning, and I spent some time browsing the internet for information about divorce, finances, and attorneys, making a rough plan for the future. After making a list of important assets, I hurried to the bank before Jessica got home. I took the initiative and canceled our joint credit card, opening a new one in my name only. I also closed our joint checking account and opened one exclusively in my name. Using funds from our shared account, I made an advance payment on the house mortgage for the next 2 months. Then I divided the remaining money. 50% went to her by check, and the remaining 50% was transferred to my savings account. Having dealt with these financial matters, I treated myself to a craft beer and some Chesapeake Bay crab cakes at my favorite brew pub on the oceanfront, and then prepared for the conversation at home. When Jessica arrived around 6 o'clock in the evening, she noticed Mike still wasn't home and didn't know if he'd been there at all. After eating a sandwich, she thought about how to approach Mike more positively this time. As soon as Mike entered the house, she rushed to him, kissed him on the lips, and hugged him tightly. She scolded him for leaving without a word and expressed her concern and desire to know he was safe. "Mike, please don't ever disappear like that again without letting me know you're okay. I love only you, and I'll always love only you. You don't have to go through this pain alone. Jessica, I'm right here with you. I thought we were united and always would be, but now I'm not sure about that. A week ago, I never imagined you could ask me to approve of your extramarital affair and then expect us to continue living as if nothing had changed. It's hard to believe you can claim you love me and want us to stay together while simultaneously asking for permission to cheat," I said wearily. "Mike, please don't try to tell me I don't love you," Jessica said, tears in her eyes. "It's not cheating if we both agree to it, and it's just a one-time thing. Stop reacting and acting so immaturely," she protested. "Jessica, if you want to talk about drama and immaturity, look at yourself. I see a woman I once loved, but now it seems like someone or something unfamiliar has taken over. She's trying to convince me she loves me, but at the same time, she wants to have an affair with another man for the weekend and then go back to the way things were. But I know that's impossible. We'll never be able to become the couple we were before," I replied. "How would you feel, Jessica, if I went and slept with someone else and then told you it was just a fling?" I asked. "It's not fair, and you know it. Mike, you had a lot of women before we got together, and I haven't had any. If you did that, I would have kicked you out, and I'm not sure I could have forgiven you," she said, stunned. "So why should it be different for me? Why don't I kick you out, and why do you think I should forgive you?" I said sarcastically. Tears welled up in Jessica's eyes, and she said, "Mike, I can't imagine life without you. I have such strong feelings for you, and I always want to be with you. But let's be honest, Jessica, your offer isn't sincere. Have you already agreed to this? Have you promised your friend that you'll sleep with him?" I asked. "Mike, why are you twisting the situation? He's not my boyfriend, he's just a one-time thing. I talked to him, and we have plans for this weekend, but on Monday, I'll show you a whole new level of passion," Jessica assured me. "You've always been the best wife a man could ask for. You were like this before, and you'll stay like this if you don't go through with it." Choking on these words, Jessica retreated to the kitchen with a sinking heart and collapsed into a chair. She looked at me with despair in her voice and eyes, begging me to understand her. "Mike, please believe me when I say I love you more than anything in the world. Please don't let this decision come between us, our partnership, our marriage. You are my husband, my lover, my best friend, the one I want to share my life with and start a family with. You mean everything to me. Please don't let this separate us," she begged. I looked at Jessica, my face showing a mixture of confusion and disappointment. "Jessica, you just can't figure it out, but I promise I'll try to understand and work through everything with you," I said, extending my hand to her. "If all this were true, you never would have told me about your plans for Saturday. This conversation is pointless if you keep going down this path. It's over between us. I'll be back Friday night," I said. "Let's spend tonight together, be close, and cherish each other while we still can. Mike, please don't leave me anymore. We have to work through this, please," she begged. "Friday night, Jessica. I'll bring dinner around 7 o'clock, I replied. "Brandon's picking me up Saturday morning. I'll tell him to come at 11 o'clock. "I want you to meet him," she said urgently. Jesus, Jessica, you're really going through with meeting him? If I see him, I swear I'll beat the hell out of him. He's a jackass who's destroying our marriage. Think carefully before we meet on Friday, I warned. Mike, please don't leave like this. Just tell me you're okay, that this won't tear us apart, she begged. Jessica, I will never be able to accept you having an intimate relationship with someone other than me. If you want to be with someone else, then get divorced and have your way with any man in the world, I replied. I won't stand in your way, but I want you to understand that your request has caused more pain than you realize. I have one condition under which we can move forward. If you stop this affair completely, cut off your relationship with him, and agree to attend counseling with me to work on our relationship, then maybe we can save what we have. If not, then I know it's over between us. Please think carefully about your decision and give me an answer by Friday evening, I said firmly. Mike, please don't give ultimatums and don't leave me. Let's solve everything together, Jessica persisted. Yeah, right. God, you never cease to amaze me, I muttered sarcastically. I left the room and headed back to the Hampton Inn to get a room from Wednesday through Thursday night. After that, I called my project manager and cited family circumstances, which resulted in him reluctantly agreeing to handle the Ocean View Elementary job for the rest of the week. Despite his curiosity, I refused to reveal the details of my situation. Meanwhile, Jessica was leaning over the table with her head in her hands, depressed by Mike's departure. She couldn't understand why he was being so stubborn about the situation. Despite her certainty that he'd never leave her permanently, she couldn't shake the feeling that their relationship had already been seriously damaged, and continuing with her plans would only make things worse. And yet she was determined to be with Brandon, consumed by a desire she couldn't ignore. In the end, she decided to compromise with Mike, agreeing to spend the weekend with Brandon but also agreeing to attend marriage counseling with whoever Mike chose afterward. She made it to the bedroom, feeling the weight of guilt and regret. While lying in bed, a whirlwind of thoughts spun in her head. Mike was everything to her, and yet she'd hurt and angered him. The weight of it all seemed unbearable. Did she really want this? She felt trapped, unable to free herself from the choices she'd made. She told herself she needed this, that Mike's arguments were groundless. In the past, he'd found comfort with other women, and she'd remained faithful. It was just a physical act, nothing more. He needed to let go of his ego and move on. After Jessica left for work Thursday, I went back inside and started packing the things I wanted to take with me in the trailer. To make sure I took things she wouldn't miss, I donated clothes I'd never worn and didn't need to Goodwill. I moved tools, sports equipment, and camping gear I didn't have room for to my best friend Ryan's garage in Norfolk. I also gave him some watercolor paintings my aunt had made. I was sure Ryan would understand. We sat down at his kitchen table, had a beer, and I told him about my situation and the choice I was facing. Ryan's face showed disbelief as he exclaimed, "Mike, you've got to be kidding. Jessica would never betray you like that. She's head over heels in love with you." He questioned my assessment, suggesting maybe there was some reason for her behavior, like stress or something. Feeling lost and confused, I confessed, "I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know what to do." In 1 week, my whole world collapsed, and it's like I stopped recognizing Jessica. I can't understand it. The love I once had for her is being tested, diminishing with each lame excuse for why this would somehow benefit our marriage. She's acting completely irrationally, I told Ryan. Can't you just forget about it? Maybe you should go to counseling and move on, he asked. No way. I made it clear to her that we'd get through this if she didn't betray me. But if she does, then I don't see a way to fix things. I begged her to change her mind, but it seems useless. I'm going to try my best to give her an amazing Friday night in hopes she'll finally listen to reason. This is my last attempt to save our relationship, I said. Good luck, man. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to support you during this difficult time. Maybe I can help somehow. It breaks my heart that you two are going through this. You guys were my inspiration for a strong, healthy marriage, and now it seems like both our ideals have been shattered, he said. I never imagined this would happen to us, I said sadly. I'm trying my best not to give in to the urge to get physical with this guy, I added. But Mike, if things escalate and you need backup to deal with him, just give me a heads up, and I'll be there. Take care of yourself. Think things through. Stay safe, my friend, Ryan said. Oh, and I got a new phone and number. I'll text you the details so we can stay in touch, I said. Hang in there, buddy, he said. See you later, brother. After that, I went to Verizon, bought a new phone and number, and changed our family plan to Jessica's name only. Finally, I went home, did the first real test drive of the trailer, and was satisfied with its performance. After finishing the interior touches, getting new plates and insurance, I was ready to hit the road. I cleared my computer of all personal emails and documents, essentially wiping out all traces of my past life. I sent emails to our family, friends, relatives, and colleagues to inform them of Jessica's decision and my reaction. If I couldn't convince her, I'd tell them she'd decided to pursue a new adventure. She could justify herself by saying it was just an extramarital affair that she'd asked for my consent to pursue. And even though I'd begged her not to do it and warned her it would destroy our marriage, she went ahead anyway. I hoped I'd never have to send this letter, but in case things went south, I wanted people to know the truth about what happened. As proof, I also attached a voice recording of one of our conversations. That evening, I met with a divorce attorney in Norfolk and was advised that since our incomes were similar and we didn't have children, the process would likely be straightforward. The assumption was that property division and divorce would be equal. The only potential point of contention was whether my 401k, which had more than $200,000 in deferred taxes that I'd contributed significantly to, would be included in the division. Jessica was part of the Virginia retirement system through her school employment, which further complicated matters. In the end, I decided I'd earned this money through hard work and didn't want to risk losing half of it because of a woman who was cheating on me. So I decided to take the 40% tax hit and withdraw the money before the divorce process could affect my retirement savings. I decided to wait until the weekend, still holding out hope that I'd be able to convince Jessica to come out of this nightmare. As Friday approached, I felt like our entire future, our marriage, and my feelings for her were solely in Jessica's hands. I could only hope and pray she'd make the right decision. On the way home, I bought fresh Atlantic rockfish, asparagus, and Caesar salad fixings, then fired up the grill. I chilled a couple bottles of Virginia wine, filled a cooler with ice, mixed some gin and tonics, and looked forward to Jessica coming home from work. She was thrilled when she walked into the kitchen and saw me cooking. Thank God you're home, Mike. I've missed you so much, and I hate it when you're not here. Promise me you won't do this anymore. You love me. I love you. We should be together, she said with a smile. She came up to me, and I felt surprised and delighted when I hugged her and kissed her with a deep, gentle kiss. Jessica, why don't you go freshen up and put on something nice? Grab a glass of wine to start the celebration. As soon as you come back down, I'll start grilling, and we can enjoy a wonderful dinner together. Let's focus on celebrating our marriage tonight instead of talking about how this might be our last dinner, I said. It upsets me that you're doubting our relationship. I've told you countless times that I only love you, Jessica said with a frown. This is something I have to work through on my own. It has nothing to do with you. Let's put this conversation on hold for now, Jessica insisted. First, let's take a shower together with some wine. Then we'll eat and move on to the best part of our evening, I said playfully. Mister, I hope you'll stay with me tonight and not leave me upset or worried about you. I'll be back down soon in an outfit that'll show you how much I love and cherish you," she said teasingly. Jessica went upstairs to shower, and when she returned, I was blown away by her stunning outfit. A flowing sundress that perfectly complemented her figure. Jessica was wearing a soft blue dress that brought out her eyes, with her hair swept up elegantly, and she looked absolutely radiant. "Wow, Jessica, you look incredibly beautiful," I said, genuinely amazed. "I can't wait for you to see the other outfits I've planned for the next few weeks of our life together," she said. "But first, let's get that food on the grill. I'm hungry, but I'm even more eager to get to dessert," I said with a playful wink. She demonstrated her desire through lingering looks and gentle touches. Dinner was enjoyed slowly, glasses of gin and tonic were savored, and most of the first bottle of wine was consumed. Unable to contain my affection any longer, I took her hand, led her upstairs, and we shared an intimate, tender evening together. When we were close afterward, I held her gently. "Tonight has been amazing, Mike. I can see a future with you filled with moments like this," she said as we lay together. "I love you so much, and I'm grateful for tonight." I didn't respond right away, just held her close. Finally, I turned to her and said softly, "I love you too, Jess." When Jessica woke up at 8:30 Saturday morning, she realized it was time to get up and prepare for the day. Brandon was supposed to pick her up at 11 o'clock, and the thought made her feel guilty, anxious, and sad. After their passionate evening together the night before, she'd briefly doubted the wisdom of her choice. How could anything compare to what they shared? But despite her doubts, she was determined to see it through. When she heard him moving around in the kitchen, the smell of bacon, scrambled eggs, and coffee wafting through the house, she put on a bathrobe and went downstairs. "Last night was amazing, Mike. I can see a future with you filled with moments like this," she said as she entered the kitchen. "I love you so much, and I'm grateful for last night." He didn't respond right away, concentrating on making scrambled eggs. Finally, he turned to her and asked if she wanted something to eat. "I think I'll skip breakfast, Mike, but thanks anyway. I have brunch scheduled at 11 o'clock with Brandon at the Hilton Oceanfront, so I want to save my appetite. I need to get ready quickly. Can you stay here so we can say goodbye and kiss before the weekend?" she said tensely. "Jessica, I'm not going to beg you anymore. I just want to ask you one last time. Are you absolutely sure you can be intimate with someone who isn't your husband?" I said, giving up on making breakfast. "Mike, please stop it. It's just one time. It won't change how I feel about you," Jessica replied, looking into her eyes, full of pain and sadness. I promised not to leave until I said goodbye to her. Jessica's heart sank at the sight of my agony and the finality of my words. It felt like a farewell, like closure, and she couldn't help but shudder at the thought. But I calmed her by expressing my love for her. She promised everything would be fine, that this pain would pass soon. She reminded me we were meant to be together forever. Despite her encouraging words, I couldn't help feeling overwhelmed by sadness. How could she be so confident when I was drowning in doubt and despair? She blushed at my expression. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she hurried to the bathroom. Why is he always so dramatic? Can't he just let me have this one experience and move on? She was grateful for the opportunity and promised to spend the rest of her days making it up to him. The situation had clearly affected Mike, and she knew she'd have to work hard to ease his pain. But she was sure that in the end, he'd come around because he loved her deeply and always took care of her. This time will be different, she thought. She took a quick shower and applied makeup, choosing a dress that was both attractive and sophisticated, paired with nice shoes and a light jacket. She tried to look her best. When she came downstairs with her overnight bag, She realized it was 10:30, and time was running short. When I saw she was dressed to meet another man, it felt like a knife in my heart. Mike, are you okay? You know how much I love you, don't you? And you love me too, right? Didn't last night show you that we can overcome this and continue living together? Jessica asked, her words echoing in my mind. Last night was supposed to be a special celebration of our marriage, a memory we could carry with us for the rest of our lives, I said sadly. But Mike, please don't call it our last night together. It's unfair to try to make me feel guilty for wanting a moment of passion. We'll get through this and become stronger than ever, she replied hopefully. When she moved to kiss me, I held her gently, looking into her eyes and trying to comfort her. Jessica, our time together has come to an end. You chose a casual weekend fling over your marriage. Those kisses don't matter anymore, I whispered softly. Mike, please stop. It's not what you think. This is the only time, and I deserve it. You had a lot of women in the past that you can remember, but I don't have anything like that. I have a strong physical desire to be intimate with this person and move on. It doesn't mean love. It won't affect our relationship or my love for you, she said desperately. Yes, Jessica, it's just a one-time thing, I confirmed quietly. Before Jessica could respond, she was interrupted by the sound of a car pulling up to the driveway and a horn honking. Mike, you need to stop all this drama, she said irritably. I'll be back Sunday evening, and you'll still be my one and only love, my life partner. The horn sounded again, and Jessica suggested, maybe I should invite Brandon in and introduce him to you. Maybe then you'll realize he's just an attractive guy, not a threat to our relationship. I felt a surge of pain and anger but managed to keep my voice calm as I answered, Don't you dare let him in here, or I'll break his nose. Her eyes widened as I clenched my jaw and fists, making it clear I'd caused serious harm to someone. Jessica recoiled in horror, her heart pounding. This wasn't the man she knew, not the gentle soul she'd fallen in love with. Mike, please, she begged, her voice trembling with fear. Leave it alone, please. Let me handle this, and I promise I'll come home to you safe and sound. We can work through this together. She reached out a trembling hand to me, desperately trying to calm the storm raging inside me. She prayed I would listen to her, that my actions would be guided by reason and love, not cruelty and rage. My eyes met hers, and for a moment, there was understanding and regret in my gaze. She held her breath, hoping I would choose love over hate, forgiveness over revenge. She grabbed her bag, headed for the door, and stopped to look back at me. But the suffering and despair written on my face caused her to feel a sudden surge of fear and guilt. Despite this, she smiled bravely, kissed me, and assured me that from Sunday evening on, she'd be the perfect wife and partner I'd always hoped for. With a final declaration of love, she said goodbye. Goodbye, sweetheart, I waved weakly as she left. Sitting in the kitchen chair, I tried to come to terms with her leaving, and tears streamed down my face. I tried my best to end the affair that threatened to destroy our marriage, but Jessica seemed to be living in her own world, convinced this was what she needed to be happy. After crying for what felt like forever, I finally got up and started packing my things into the trailer. Starting in the bedroom, I noticed Jessica's wedding rings left on the dresser. Feeling a mixture of sadness and anger, I put them in my pocket, deciding to move on from this painful chapter in our lives. 2 hours later, I'd packed all my most valuable possessions. The paintings, sketches, and sculptures given to me by my late aunt were carefully packed in boxes and stored under the trailer's double bed. My initial selection of clothes turned out to be too much, so I quickly revised it and threw everything I didn't need into the garage trash can. As I wandered around the house, anger and sadness raged within me. My gaze fell on our wedding album filled with 40 photos from our wedding day 5 years ago. It had once been a source of joy and peace, but now it only brought painful memories. Then, with tears falling on the paper, I sat down at the table and wrote my final letter to Jessica. Finally, it was finished. I put the letter and a check for Jessica from our shared savings and checking accounts in an envelope, writing her name on the outside. After placing the photo album and letter on the kitchen table, I took off my wedding ring and placed it on top of the letter. With a heavy heart, I prepared to send the email to all our friends, relatives, and acquaintances, scheduling it to be sent at 9 a.m. Monday. I wouldn't be home by then. After locking the door, I climbed into my pickup truck, hooked up the trailer, and drove away from my old life. By mid-Saturday afternoon, Jessica and Brandon had already had brunch at the Hilton Virginia Beach oceanfront and checked into the hotel room that Brandon had booked for the weekend. He'd hoped to convince Jessica to stay both Saturday and Sunday, wanting to extend their time together and avoid the dreaded Sunday checkout. When they were alone in the room, Jessica couldn't help but feel excited about being with another man, completely focused on her and wanting her. Brandon wasted no time in beginning physical intimacy, but Jessica gently asked him to slow down, reminding him to relax and take his time. "We have today and tomorrow to enjoy each other. Maybe I can help you relax and get comfortable," Jessica suggested. "I'm not really into all that slow stuff, Jessica, and I find it kind of annoying." "Let me take care of you," Brandon said impatiently. With these words, their encounter proceeded quickly, though it wasn't exactly what she dreamed of. He moved into intimacy rapidly and began moving energetically. After a couple of minutes, he announced he was about to finish and urged Jessica to join him. When it was over, he leaned back and lay on the bed. Jessica lay there, unable to believe what had just happened. She was nowhere near satisfied and felt almost no real pleasure. Brandon quickly got up and headed to the bathroom, saying he needed to clean up and would bring her a washcloth. Facing away from the bathroom, Jessica couldn't help but think about her actions and how much pain she'd caused Mike for something that turned out to be far more insignificant than she could have imagined. Grabbing her phone from the bedside table, she quickly texted Mike, "I want you to know my love is only for you. Please tell me you're okay and that you feel the same about me. I'm looking forward to seeing you again." Brandon returned to the room full of youthful energy and eager for more. They were intimate 3 more times that day, but it was only the 3rd time that she managed to reach any real satisfaction, and that was largely due to her own efforts. After getting dressed, they went to dinner at Captain George's seafood restaurant. The meal was filled with awkward small talk, and there was no real physical or emotional connection between them. The magic she'd once felt seemed to have disappeared. After dinner, they decided to go dancing at Peabody's nightclub, but it felt more like dancing with a cousin than a romantic partner. The once strong physical attraction she'd felt for Brandon seemed to have evaporated. Despite Brandon's desire to return to the room, she kept ordering more drinks, prolonging the evening until they were both drunk and stumbling their way back. When she got to their room, she quickly undressed, flopped down on the bed, turned her back to Brandon, and fell asleep. The next morning, Brandon was still sound asleep. She woke up with a headache. Her body ached from the previous day's activities. Brandon's snoring filled the room, reminding her of the decisions she'd made over the weekend that she now regretted. Despite the consequences, she decided to make one last attempt at a memorable intimate encounter with the young man. She hesitantly tried to wake Brandon with morning caresses, hoping to spark desire. Suddenly, he woke up, wiped his mouth, and turning to her, asked, "Did you like it, babe?" When she leaned down to kiss him, he pulled away and said, "No way. Go brush your teeth before you try that." Disgusted, she grabbed her phone and disappeared into the bathroom, closing the door behind her. She turned on the shower and scrubbed herself vigorously, as if trying to remove some invisible contamination. After drying off, she sat on the toilet and checked her phone to see if Mike had responded to her messages. When she saw no response, she called him and immediately got voicemail. Disappointed, she sent a final message. "Mike, I love you. Are you all right? Please tell me you're okay, and we can move forward. This situation has become a terrible mistake, and my heart belongs to you forever. I'll come home as soon as possible to hug you and express my love. Please confirm you're all right." After convincing Brandon to join her for breakfast at the hotel restaurant, she confessed, "Brandon, I made a mistake. Now I understand that my love belongs only to my husband, and this weekend with you showed me that no one can compare to him. I'm going back to the room to pack and leave immediately. I'll call an Uber. I don't want to see you at work events anymore, and I'd prefer we keep things strictly professional at school as well. I'm sorry, but this was a huge mistake. Jessica, you wanted this so badly and convinced me to go along with it. So go back to your husband and try to forget how amazing our time together was. There are plenty of women out there who are more attractive than you and would love to be with me," he said with a smirk. "Brandon, you're inexperienced and have no idea how to please a woman. Time to face reality," Jessica said incredulously. When she got to the room, she packed her things and left. Jessica called an Uber and arrived home at 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. To her surprise, the large trailer that had taken up half the driveway was no longer there. Mike must have finally finished it, she thought. He probably took it for a test drive or an overnight camping trip. Disappointed that she was late for their reunion, Jessica couldn't help feeling annoyed that he hadn't waited for her. As she crossed the threshold of the house, a subtle change in the atmosphere caught her attention. The first thing she noticed was the absence of the watercolor painting of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge at sunset that Aunt Elaine had painted, which used to hang over the fireplace. Looking around the room, she noticed other artwork was missing, including a sculpture of a blue heron that his aunt had made, which had stood on the mantel. A feeling of anxiety gripped her, and she called out for Mike, doubting he was just rearranging the artwork. Despite the emptiness in the house, she couldn't help but voice her concern aloud. Checking her phone again, she noticed Mike still hadn't responded to any of her messages. In a panic, she dialed his number but heard an automated voice informing her the number was no longer in service. A scream escaped her lips, and she collapsed to the floor in disbelief. "My God, what have I done?" she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "Mike, how could you leave me like this?" Gathering her strength, she wiped away her tears and headed for the kitchen. Thoughts of what could have happened to him flashed through her head. On shaking legs, she couldn't help but notice Mike's wedding ring lying on a letter next to their wedding album. Sinking into a nearby chair, she carefully picked up the ring, and her heart ached with confusion and disbelief. With trembling hands, she opened the letter, and tears streamed down her face as she tried to make out the words. "Jessica, this is my final goodbye to you," the letter began. "I may be a coward, but I couldn't look you in the eye after you abandoned me. I found your rings on the dresser, and I knew it was over. You left our marriage with the perfect symbol, taking off your wedding ring. You knew wearing it would mean acknowledging your infidelity, and you weren't ready to give up your free weekend. You seemed to believe you could cheat on me and slip back into our marriage as if nothing had changed. I can't understand how you think it's acceptable to break our vows, humiliate and disrespect me, and treat our marriage like it means nothing. A seemingly innocent weekend fling that shouldn't have affected my feelings for you. But in the end, it became everything. It made me realize that your love for me, if it existed at all, was nowhere near the depth of my love for you." Jessica reread Mike's farewell several times, not believing this was actually happening. As she read the words Mike had written, she noticed the tear-stained pages, a painful reminder of the damage she'd caused. The sight of the ruined wedding album made her feel sick, and she tried her best not to faint. "What you deserved and what I foolishly believed in, you've hurt me more than anyone ever has. You tore my love from my heart and trampled on it." The betrayal began long before the physical act when you started flirting with your lover during lunch at school. You crossed the line of infidelity when you started kissing him after your dinners at town center, thinking it was acceptable. But you dealt the final blow to our love when you decided I wouldn't object to your intimate relationship. How could you think you deserved this and that I'd give you permission if I really loved you? I tried to lead you away from this destructive path, but you chose to ignore me. I warned you our relationship would never be the same, but you dismissed me as immature and unreasonably harsh. I had a heart-to-heart talk with you and expressed my desire to end this affair over the weekend to focus on saving our marriage through counseling, but you dismissed my concerns. I made it clear that our passionate night together would be the last if you continued your affair over the weekend, but you ignored my feelings and expected me to support you no matter what. I don't understand how you could even believe this situation would work for me. It seems you didn't fully understand me, just like I didn't fully understand you, because I trusted you. I never imagined you could put me down like that. I could have physically fought back, but I knew this would only lead to resentment and the gradual destruction of our marriage. I saw that you thought this was just a one-time fling. Now you've unleashed a dangerous force. If this experience proved unsatisfactory, how long would it take before you found another temptation to satisfy your desires? And if it brought satisfaction, how soon would you begin to crave it again? You probably won't disclose future cases of cheating, especially considering our current situation, but I was certain there would be more such cases and that your infidelity would continue. It looks like we'll never know. I can't imagine a relationship without trust, and now my trust in you has been destroyed. I'll never be able to love you again, constantly doubting whether you were thinking about me or someone else during our intimate moments. The moment you left, you destroyed all the love, respect, and trust that once existed between us. You betrayed our friendship and destroyed it beyond repair. I'll never be able to forgive you for the pain you caused me, and I can no longer trust you or consider you a friend. Just as you ripped my love from my chest, I have to completely cut you out of my life. I've taken care of practical matters, including dividing our property and paying the mortgage for the next 2 months. Your share of 50% of our joint accounts is in the check that's in this envelope. I also canceled our joint account and insurance to move forward. You'll need to set up your own accounts. I canceled our joint credit cards, so you'll have to get your own. Additionally, I removed my name from the mortgage and signed papers transferring the house to your name. Whether you decide to sell the house or continue living in it is up to you because it doesn't matter to me anymore. I also sold my pickup truck and left in the trailer, moving away from the life we once shared. I want to be honest with you because I know this will affect both of us in the future. I pawned your wedding rings for gas money because it seemed fitting and helps me move on. It's not an easy choice for me to make, but I hope you can understand the pain and disappointment that led me to this. I took drastic measures to symbolize the end of our life together. I destroyed our wedding album and burned parts of the photos in the fireplace. I also sent emails to our friends, relatives, colleagues, and acquaintances, informing them of your infidelity and my decision to leave you. You have time to tell your version of events before the truth comes out. You can start a new chapter in your life by owning up to your actions. It'll be good for you that I'm giving you the green light for any romantic or sexual relationship you want. Explore whatever you want, though I hope you stay away from married men since you've already done enough damage. Follow your own path to find what made you reject our relationship. As I told you, you have my blessing to divorce, sell the house, move whatever your heart desires. I don't care what choice you make, and I'm leaving everything in your hands. If I'm lucky enough to find a woman who really loves me the way I deserve, then maybe I'll consider remarrying. I've decided to shut down my business temporarily and withdraw my assets. Right now, my only plan is to never see you again and head west when I leave this place. I think I'll start all over and try to leave all memories of you behind." Jessica reread Mike's farewell several times, not believing this was actually happening. As she read the words Mike had written, she noticed the tear-stained pages, a painful reminder of the damage she'd caused. The sight of the ruined wedding album made her feel sick, and she tried her best not to faint. "What have I done?" she thought, filled with self-pity and self-loathing. How could she have been so selfish and stupid as to give up the love of her life for a meaningless affair with a man who didn't care about her? Jessica collapsed onto the couch in the living room, overcome with guilt and despair. Desperately wanting to turn back time, she curled up, tears streaming down her face, crying herself to sleep. The realization that she'd been stubborn and fixated on fulfilling her desires for a new sexual partner hit her hard. She'd ignored all of Mike's warnings and ultimatums, resulting in her life being ruined within weeks. The consequences of her betrayal would haunt her for the rest of her days. Meanwhile, Mike made a spontaneous decision to drive west along Interstate 64, heading toward the Blue Ridge Mountains and beyond. The endless hours behind the wheel only fueled his thoughts about Jessica and whether he'd made the right choice. But he knew he needed time before making any decisions. At the moment, he couldn't even imagine the idea of being friends, let alone life partners. If he could let go of his anger and get to the point where being with her was more important than being apart, maybe he'd consider contacting her, but he doubted that would happen. The road ahead would be long and uncertain. Finding herself in a heartbreaking situation, Jessica was forced to experience humiliation and torment, having to justify her irrational decision to have an affair to her loved ones. She knew none of them would be able to understand her actions or support her in any way. When she tried to justify herself, she realized she was no longer able to understand even her own reasoning, let alone explain it to others. She had to admit the harsh truth that the affair would have consequences. She had to admit how naively she'd convinced herself this wouldn't affect their relationship. Now she had to come to terms with the horrifying realization that her actions had ruined her marriage and destroyed the only love she'd ever known. Realizing the extent of her narcissistic self-centeredness and stupidity, she knew she had to take responsibility for her actions and how they affected Mike and herself. The fact that she'd lost the respect of her family and friends was obvious as they distanced themselves from her. Wanting to make amends, Jessica contacted Mike's best friend, Ryan, and asked him for information about Mike's location or contact details. Jessica begged him to give Mike her message of love and remorse, finally acknowledging and taking responsibility for her infidelity in their marriage. She was ready to do anything to restore her relationship with him. She wanted to express her love and longing for him. She confessed her mistakes and was determined to change everything. Jessica promised to honor their marriage vows and remain faithful to him. But despite all her efforts, she got no response from him. She stopped all communication with others and focused solely on work and home, hoping he'd eventually return to her. She remained faithful to their relationship and patiently waited for its restoration. One day, about 6 months after the incident with Brandon, something terrible happened. He was assaulted when leaving Peabody's nightclub while intoxicated. Jessica reflected on the events that had happened, not understanding how she could have believed everything would be fine. Years passed, and Jessica still hoped Mike would come back, but he never did. One fateful morning, when Jessica was about to leave for work, a man approached her and asked about her identity. After confirming her name, he handed her an envelope that read, "You have been served." Without shedding a tear or showing any emotion, Jessica just stood there and with a slight nod said goodbye to her marriage forever. 7 years after breaking up with Jessica, Mike was enjoying life with his beautiful wife, Sarah. who was 5 years younger than him and had just given birth to a healthy son a week earlier. Mike was thrilled to become a father. He couldn't get enough of the fact that his life had found happiness and love again. They lived in Asheville, North Carolina, where Mike had rebuilt his construction business specializing in sustainable mountain homes. As for Jessica, her life had changed dramatically. She married a wealthy real estate developer named James who dreamed of an heir, but Jessica couldn't carry a child to term. For the second time, Jessica suffered a miscarriage, and her husband, James, warned her that if she was unable to give birth to an heir, he would leave her. After giving Jessica another chance to get pregnant and have a baby, he waited patiently. Jessica was desperate. She maintained a healthy lifestyle, exercised regularly, and when she got pregnant for the third time, their happiness seemed boundless. But this happiness didn't last long. In the third month of pregnancy, Jessica miscarried again. A month later, James and Jessica divorced. Apparently, Jessica wasn't meant to experience the happiness of being a mother. Thank you for your viewing. See you next time. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to JK Tells a Story for more tales.